I'm John Buchanan. Nice, isn't it? Okay, so what we're going to do within this video is we're going to look at the piano roll display. Now, for those of you who've been watching this channel for 4.5 years, nearly, you might be thinking, John, I know about the piano roll display. What have you possibly got for me that I don't know already? Well, there are always new things to discover about Logic Pro. And what's really interesting about the way that the piano roll display has evolved over time is that it's actually got some options within it that you might not know about. Let's find out if I'm right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quantize that pattern. Yes, I am. That we've just played in. And the idea of recording this pattern for you, two things. Firstly, I've played the same rhythmic pattern in every bar, was the idea at least. Let's find out if that was true. And what I've also done is to just let velocity go where it wanted to go. So the kind of changes in the way that this sound behaved in terms of when it gets a bit open and a bit splangy is all to do with how hard I've hit those notes. And we're going to hear towards the end that some of those velocities are quite big. Let's open the piano roll display so we can see what I've actually played. Sure enough, we can see some of the velocities are quite big. That's what that kind of amazing solar system constellation of stars is at the bottom. It's the individual velocity for every single note that I've just played. Phew. I promised you splang at the end, and splang we got. Okay, so first thing to say is you might be immediately thinking, hang on, when I open the piano roll display, it doesn't look like this. Well, this button here, our little automation button, which used to be called MIDI draw, but is now just called automation, is the way that we can see the parameters that relate to the MIDI events that we've recorded. So if I had also recorded expression data or modulation data, for those of you of a sample orchestral programming bent, I would be able to see that data here as well. But the only data that relates to this screen for this particular sequence is note velocity. So that is what is available here. But once I've got automation open, of course, I'm in a position to go and find any of the other MIDI note events that might relate to this sequence. So here's the first thing you might not know. Is that obviously what I'm in a position to do is to select all of these notes if I wanted to change them in some way. And we've got a velocity slider over here on the left-hand side, which allows me to take all the velocities up and down. That part I think you probably did know. But what you might not know, I know you're excited now, aren't you? Where am I going? Is that what we've actually got an opportunity to do here is to compress the velocity amounts within this window as well. So you would think that having selected everything, if I was just to grab one of these notes and to drag it downwards, I would simply be doing what the velocity slider does, which is to turn everything down. But actually things turn down in a ratio. Yeah, and that's where the compression comes in. I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to turn off MIDI out so that none of these notes make a noise as I adjust them. And I'm going to grab one of the loud ones and I'm going to start to drag it downwards. And what you can see is that the bottom one, the lowest one, the smallest value, this little guy here, in fact, seems to be dropping in value a lot less fast than the ones towards the top. And you can see that as I pull the velocities down, what I get is this kind of compression, which is a bit like our velocity limiter within the MIDI effects. That what I have a chance to do is to limit the range between the quietest and the loudest velocities. And the same thing is true in reverse. This one towards the bottom is barely moving. All of the other ones are much more dynamic. Look at that. It's like a bunch of children all bouncing up and down on the same trampoline at the same time. Everyone seeing that? Yeah. Okay, so what I've done is I've squeezed the velocities. Now, I might be thinking, well, how's that useful? Well, of course, in combination with the velocity slider, it's unbelievably useful. I can use the kind of pulling down of the dynamic range of those velocities, firstly, and then I can turn them all back up. So if what I want is to squeeze velocity, but to keep things broadly in the same ballpark, I've got the opportunity to do that between those two positions. But I don't want to do that just yet. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make this all a little bit wider, but a little bit less wide than it was before. So we've still got some range, but what we've got is a bit less range than we had before, if that makes sense. And I think the best way to do that actually is going to return the lowest velocity to where it was and to move up exponentially from that point to get back to roughly where we were. So firstly, two things there: velocity squeeze, compression if you like, and then obviously the velocity slider working in combination with that to do its thing. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make everything a little bit bigger from a zoom perspective. And what we should be able to see is that we've got the same rhythm in every bar. Now then, when I talked about the fact that the piano roll display contains some options for us which are potentially interesting to us, we're going to start with one of those now. I'm going to select this note here. I've just picked it kind of at random. And what I'm then going to do is I'm going to use Shift and P. Now, what that is actually going to do is to pick out the proportional note in every bar from a rhythmic perspective. In other words, you can now see that whatever note that was, the 3rd 16th note of beat 4 has now been picked out in every single bar. So in other words, the rhythmic position of the note that I selected is the kind of deciding algorithmic factor in which notes are going to be selected. And I might decide to mute those. So that is just going to be Control and M, and that's going to change my rhythm. So that's just picked out that note. Now, if I decide that I don't like it, of course, I can Command and Z, and I'm back to where I started. And what I could do instead would be to pick a different note. What if I didn't want any of the ones on beat 2? Well, again, all I've got to do is to select one of them, hit Shift and P, and then hit Control and M to mute. And now we have a chance to explore that rhythm instead. I don't like that as much. But what I am going to do is to select these and these. So in other words, what I'm doing is I'm selecting the notes now from the 2nd 16th note of beat 2 and the 4th 16th note of beat 4. And then what I'm going to do is to repeat the trick one more time. It's going to select all of those positions in both bars. And this is a really nice way of saying, okay, I've got a really complicated rhythm. What would happen if I simplified it? And rather than having to go through every single bar, selecting the notes, holding down Shift, selecting the other notes and doing that in every single bar across 16 bars, breathless just even describing it, we can just do it in a heartbeat. Okay, so we've explored that option. Now then, what I'm going to do again is to reinstate everything. Just Command and Z will get me back to where I want to be. So where is this feature, Shift and P? I hear you asking at the screen, and how right you are to do that. Instead of just picking out a key command that appears to have just come from my brain rather than one of the functions, instead this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a note, this one here, and we're going to Control click on it. And we're going to discover what I was talking about. This absolute raft of possibilities. And it turns out that Shift and P is select same sub positions. In other words, it's looking at the sub positions of notes on every sort of grid line space of every bar, and it's selecting them all. So what I could also do would be to say, all right, well, actually what I want to do here is to choose all following notes of the same pitch. Now, remember, I've selected a note, which I think is a D, and what I could do would be to select this option instead. And what that's going to do is to highlight all of the notes that are that note. Now, this one is a bit less useful, I think. Not because we don't sometimes want to be able to strip out content in this way, but of course we can much more easily access the idea of sort of just selecting one note by clicking on the note name over here on the left hand side. We'll have a chance to see it, and by clicking on it, all of the C's now will be selected, and if I was to select a D instead, then of course we'll see those. So maybe that one's a little bit less useful, but if it is note values we want to pick out, let's suppose for instance I wanted to select all notes called G. Well, there is a couple of ways that I can do that. So again, what we'll do is control click. And this time what I want to do is to select the same note name, not the same note pitch. That will pick out all of the G's like the one I've just selected. But if I pick the same note name, which by the way is Shift and S, not Command and S, that's save, Shift and S, what's going to happen is that not only are the low G's going to be selected, but the high ones are as well. So if I just decided that I wanted to take all of the G's up an octave, or I wanted to knock them out of the mix altogether, again, having selected them, Control and M is my friend. It's allowing me to strip out that information by selecting the note names. And if I decide I did like it, of course, I can just reintroduce it here as well. What else do we have within this menu? I know you're getting excited about the menu now. Menus are exciting. I mean, particularly in restaurants, but also in Logic Pro, it turns out. So what we've got, obviously, and we've looked at these before, is that we also have some options in terms of being able to decide how long we want notes to last. So I've got all of the ways in which I can make notes extend or get shorter if I want to. So for example, if what I wanted to do was to say, okay, I want to extend all of the current notes to the end of the selected notes, leaving an 8 ticks gap, that would look like this. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to literally extend all of the notes and slightly overlap them. In fact, sorry, not overlap them, leave an 8 ticks gap. So remember, what we have within Logic are notes and how long they last. And how long they last is measured in bars and beats and subdivisions and then ticks, which we can sort of think of as being a bit like frames. So what we've got is tiny little subdivisions of each 16th note, for instance. And what I have a chance to do by selecting this key command is to make every single note last until the next one, but to leave a tiny gap. Why do we leave a gap? Well, if notes overlap in MIDI, we don't trigger the next one. So we're leaving a gap to make sure that those notes get longer without stopping the next one from playing. And this one, therefore, extends for a whole bar. Now, the reason that we're not actually really hearing that is because obviously note length is tied to the settings of the notes that are actually being generated. And within this sound, these notes have no sustain level. So in other words, they don't stick around. Even if I hold a note down for a long time, it just stops. But if I was to introduce some sustain level, let's take this up to, I don't know, 0.5. Now it does stick around, and what that means is that we'll hear the difference in the note lengths across that sequence. So we can hear that all of those G's are longer than the other notes. I don't really want that to be the case, although I kind of do like it a bit more than I thought I would. Now that I think about it out loud, I'm going to take this down from where it was, but at the same time not get rid of it altogether. So there's that as well. What else is in the menu? Well, intriguingly, we've also got an option for, say, selecting the same coloured notes. You might be thinking, well, what on earth does that mean? Well, of course, colour relates to velocity. So if I was to select this option, what we're going to discover completely at random, remember I recorded this live and since then I've done a little bit of compression on those velocities. So it just sort of turns out that now only the notes which happen to have exactly the same velocity, and there are a few of them if I look through the list, are going to be highlighted. The same thing is going to be very interesting if I select one of the yellow notes, which is a little bit louder. Let's see whether or not what I have a chance to do now is to find out if anything else that is exactly the same velocity. Yes, there are a few all the way through here as well. Now, of course, I'm going to increase my chances of that being true if, of course, what I do is to compress velocities as we did before and turn them all up a little bit to get back into the same sort of range that we had before. And now if this time I select a note and hit Shift and C to select similar coloured notes, I'm going to discover a few more of them are also selected. And what would be quite interesting, I think, would be to, let's say, pick a few of these. I'm going to just pick 3 at random. Ooh, all sorts of things have been selected there without me meaning for them to be. Let's try that again. I'm going to pick 3 kind of at random. And again, what I'm going to do is to hit Shift and C. And of course, by selecting more notes, what's going to happen is that more notes, therefore, are going to be muted when I select them too. And again, the reason that I'm doing this, again, you know how much I like random, is because what I'm kind of trying to do is to make all of this sequence a little bit more sparse, but in ways that introduce a bit of random. So I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to squeeze dynamics even more to make there be even more consistency. And then what I'm going to do is to choose a couple more notes. And I'm going to once again hit Shift and C. And I think that means that we're going to have even more notes that are then going to be sort of mutable. And as a result of that, we're going to end up with more random because the patterns are going to be picking out different notes from every pattern. Some are muted, some aren't. It's exciting times. And all of that, I think, is really quite nice. So what we've got, as I say, within the piano roll display is an opportunity to click on a note at the same time as holding down Control, and a whole bunch of options pop up into this list of things that we can explore. And I think some of them have really interesting implications for how we could take particularly busy sequences and find ways to kind of strip those out in interesting ways. If you've played a particular rhythm over and over again, you think, okay, I've just got too many notes, then the whole idea of searching by subposition or selecting by subposition, I think, is a really interesting place to start. But that whole MIDI compression thing as well suddenly has really interesting implications for selecting by note color and the note name rather than pitch, so that we can pick out all of the Gs across 8 octaves if we want, rather than just G2, for instance, is also potentially really helpful. So when it comes to stripping out data or finding and selecting notes and being able to do kind of mass operations across a whole bunch of quite busy sequences, I think there are things here to explore. The piano roll display, full of endless surprise.